Welcome to episode 125. It's our 9th standalone episode of the CTO and 5G. It's brought to you by More Insights and Strategy. Today, Anshel and I welcome Branham. He's the Assistant City Manager and Chief Technology Officer for City of Peachtree Corners. Welcome to the podcast, Brandon.
Thanks, Will. Thanks, Anshel, for having me.
You bet. I hope I didn't butcher your last name. I tend to do that. So
No, that was great.
Okay, awesome. Well, hey, so Brandon, I spent time with you and the team. It feels like it was eons ago at the Curiosity Lab. But I'd love it if you could share what the mission and objectives are for your smart city and IoT investigations. And I did write a Forbes article about it, but I think our viewers and listeners would love to hear it from you.
Yeah, no, thanks, Will. So Curiosity Lab is actually an economic development initiative by the city to bring emerging technologies in the smart cities, IoT, smart mobility space to life using public infrastructure. So the city set out, put an initial investment in the infrastructure in the roads, the right-of-way, to allow companies to come test, develop, deploy, demonstrate these technologies alongside of the city using public infrastructure where they interact with everyday traffic and visitors and businesses and pedestrians out in the real world. And then all service from a 25,000 square foot innovation center that acts as kind of the operating hub for all the activity that's going on. We did this because we wanted to lean on the history of Peachtree Corners. We were founded, kind of developed in the late 60s, first technology park in the state of Georgia. Rich history of innovation. The first modem was actually invented in Peachtree Corners.
Yeah, you shared that with me. I thought that was really interesting.
Scientific Atlanta, which is now Cisco, was founded there. So had this great history. Fast forward a few decades before the city incorporated in 2012, some aging of the office park took place. And so wanted to reinstill that invigoration of that around us and continue to build upon our community. We're about 45,000 residents, but we're also 45,000 jobs. So our regional job hub, and wanted to continue that growth and innovation. So started Curiosity Lab.
And what I find really, really innovative is that you're not necessarily out to monetize what you're doing. And that's a good segue to lead up, I think, to a question that Anshel wants to ask you.
Yeah, so as I understand, T-Mobile has been involved dating back to Sprint's involvement. And I was wondering, what's their involvement unlocking from a use case and application perspective?
Yeah, no, great question. And yeah, they were one of our founding partners. So way back in 2019, made the investment to come alongside us to bring the 5G network. So we are fortunate. We have all three bands of the network. So we've got upper, middle, and lower for them to really come together. We've seen everything from, a lot in the intelligent transportation system. So we're doing things like the first preemption of a traffic signal over the 5G network for connected vehicles inside of an autonomous shuttle that we operate in the facility. So thinking about public transportation and its efficiency. We've put fixed LiDAR over the 5G network, so really showcasing that bandwidth of the network. And then we've done some in-building applications over the network. So really getting to see both all the way down to their network using sensors and fire hydrants to regulate water pressure. So really, getting to showcase all the way from low end to high band where you need really, really fast latency down to, almost NB-IoT type of scenario.
Yeah, hey, Brandon, let's go a little bit, deeper on the autonomy piece, because that, for me, when I spent time with you at the lab, that really kind of shined. And, autonomy is probably the poster child use case for 5G. And I got to spend time with Beep, if you remember, and you and I got on the shuttle and we were riding around. It was quite interesting. But I'd love it if you could share a little bit about that relationship and, what you've learned with Beep as a result.
Yeah, right. Especially in America, right? Public transportation is okay. I just came back from Spain where it's phenomenal, and then coming back to the States and you're like, man, we are missing a true item here for really moving people around. But a lot of the focus is around last mile, middle mile. The bus systems kind of figured out the longer routes, but that short-term space where they get off and they still need that last connection. So we've done a lot of work working alongside Beep, our partner for mobility as a service, using these purpose-built autonomous shuttles to really solve that challenge. Been just finished up our last full year of operations with them. And really seeing, the impact around efficiency of the system, along with some of the challenges that an environment like Georgia brings, where it's not flat, where these are traditionally known for operating. We've got 13% grade change, we've got curves, we've got blind spots, and so layering in the connected vehicle applications, really seeing the benefit in the operations of the system. All using the T-Mobile network for what it's good and powerful for, to be able to accomplish this. So we're able to put in connected vehicle applications where traditionally you wouldn't. Like we have a crosswalk that is a standalone from a traffic signal, and it's got a light on it, but usually you couldn't run fiber to it because it's too cost prohibitive. So we were able to put in connected vehicle application there. So if a pedestrian pushes that button, it actually sends a message to the shuttle to let them know there's a crossing there, all backhauled over that network. And then we're starting to see, we're expanding that route to really start connecting our downtown core to the innovation center and our hotel systems, where we'll really start to see the ridership demand. Kind of figured out the operational aspect of communicating back of what's happening on the interior of the vehicle. You saw one of the applications we have as we start to think about removing the drivers from these cars, because you don't really need them if we're going autonomous, but you need to know what's going on inside the vehicle. And so we're doing a pilot project with T-Mobile and Microsoft Azure, using their AI on the camera analytics, making sure people are buckling their seatbelts, and what's the overall mood in the vehicle? Are people happy? Are they sad? Are they a little freaked out? Reporting all that back to the command center. So using applications like that to really harness and move the future of autonomous shuttles.
Well, Atlanta is also famous for its traffic, right? And I could say the same for Austin, Texas, because
Yes.
we've grown so quickly. So can you sort of speak to how these investigations could alleviate that issue in just the greater Atlanta area?
Yeah. So other forms that we're using, talked a little bit about the fixed LiDAR that's on our intersection. Also have Bosch working with them, and all powered over the T-Mobile network, where we're taking video analytics of the environment. So the entire corridor has the camera system as well as the intersection, and then you start to layer these data sets on top of each other. So we know that semi is coming through, or the bus is coming through, or cars, all that have a different impact on the corridor and the traffic signal itself, on their movement through it, the time it takes them to go through a signal. What happens if that car decides to stop in the middle of the intersection and changes the dynamics of the traffic signal? So we can feed all of that data back to our central house and start to make real-time adaptive changes to the environment and the signals. We can hopefully start moving traffic more efficiently through the corridor. That's the idea, but you need all those different data sets and layers to bring into that. And then you layer on the connected vehicle asset, and we are able to take the Bosch camera that's on the network, detect pedestrians in the crosswalk, convert that to a connected vehicle message, and broadcast it out to any of the oncoming vehicles, so they know, 200 yards away, that there's a pedestrian in that crosswalk. So raises awareness, safety, security of our vulnerable road users.
Yeah, no, it's super compelling. And boy, if anything results from all of your investigations there at the Curiosity Lab, if you can crack the code on eliminating traffic, I think that would make all of our lives, so much simpler. But I think Anshel's got a final question for you before we wrap up.
Yeah, Brandon, I was wondering if you had any final thoughts or recommendations for cities or municipalities beginning a smart city journey.
Yeah, great question. One that we have a lot of conversation around. And I think what we always come back to, right, is don't try and boil the ocean. It's, focus on where the need of your community is at, we all face similar challenges, right? Whether it's traffic or operational aspects like picking up trash. So find that pain point in your city and find the champion that's within there, and be okay to fail. Because what we've learned through this is you're going to fail. You're going to, but fail forward, learn from it, go, make decisions quickly, continue to move and adapt as quickly as possible. And you'll find the right method to serve those needs inside your community.
I think it's sage advice, Brandon, and I spent a lot of time with Cisco as well, and they have a program called Country Digital Acceleration.
Yep.
Guy Dietrich is the executive that leads that. And what I've learned from Guy is that as they engage, and this is a program that's deployed all over the world, one size does not fit all. I mean, a smart city definition is very, very broad, right? And so I think your advice is wise. It's like determine, your particular pain points, because they're going to vary, right?
Yeah.
Depending on where you're at, and then, focus on, driving, the business outcome from that. And I think, what you're doing at Peachtree Corners it's so innovative. I'm hoping that it gets replicated in other parts of the country as well. Certainly, we need something like it in my hometown of Austin, Texas. So I'm willing to make the introductions that are necessary. But we've really enjoyed having you, Brandon, on the podcast. And Anshel, why don't you take us home?
Absolutely. We hope our viewers and listeners found this week's topics interesting. If anyone out there would like to provide insights for a specific 5G topic for a future podcast, please reach out to us on social media. Will is at Whaletown Tech, and I'm Anshel Sag. Thanks again to Brandon and Peachtree Corners for joining us today.
Thank you.